Hello, everybody. This is Jennifer Schaus coming to you live from Washington, D.C., and thanks for joining us in our Webinar Wednesday series. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody as well, and thanks for joining us on this pre-holiday day. So today we are covering at 12 o'clock strategies for subcontracting, and then at 12:30 we are talking about wrap rates. That 12:30 webinar has a separate link and a separate dial-in. So a little bit about our webinar series. They are held every Wednesday, and we usually bring in accountants, attorneys, and other industry experts to talk about various topics in government contracting. They are all complimentary. You can find those on our website under the webinar section, and then just below that we have an archived webinar section where all the recordings are posted, usually 2 to 3 business days later. You can also follow us on YouTube, and all of the webinars will be found there. We also post them on LinkedIn and other sites. So if you're looking for something and can't find it, just shoot us an email or give us a call. This slide here just recaps everything I just said. To let you guys know, we are hosting, it's our 3rd annual Doing Business with DOD and the IC. That is coming up on Tuesday of next week. It's over at the George Mason University Arlington campus, not the Fairfax campus, but the Arlington campus at Founders Hall. It's an auditorium, and we've got representation from various federal agencies, including Washington Headquarters Service, DIA, and NGIA, SAIC, and GDIT will be there. So please join us. It's a half-a-day conference. We're covering topics on OTAs, other transaction authorities, DOD cyber strategy, how the IC, the intelligence community, purchases. And then our last segment, which is also a panel of speakers, covers strategies for defense contracting. If you're a government contractor, rates are $25, and if you're a non-government contractor, the rate is $50. We will have coffee and pastries available in the morning. The registration link is here on the screen. It's also on our website, and we've been posting it throughout the last couple weeks on LinkedIn. So please join us if you can. Quick blurb about us. We're based in downtown DC and provide professional services for federal contractors. Some of the services are listed there, including contract compliance and administration, GSA schedules, proposal writing, pricing, and more. We've got, obviously, this series continues. It will go into 2019 as well, and that schedule will be released in the next month. All of our events and seminars you can find on our website under the events section. Quick blurb about my background can be found here. But more importantly, let's dig into today's topic, which again is strategies for subcontracting. The image that I've got here is kind of the idealistic view of how we like to think of small businesses working with primes to get contracts and be part of a team or a true subcontractor. But realistically, this is the image that we probably should have used because it is still competitive. There's still a bunch of small businesses that are competing to do business with the large businesses. So just some insight from the federal agencies, because it's always good to take the perspective of the organization that you're perhaps selling to. And the OSDBUs, which are the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization, have told us many times there's multitude of small businesses. The problem is that they can't find businesses that have the past performance or the qualifications that they can award small business contracts to. So sometimes that's why the large businesses end up winning the contracts, but the large businesses also tell us the same thing. There's still, hundreds and thousands of small businesses, but the ones that we're going to choose to do business with are going to be the ones that'll make it easy to do business with them, easy to find them, easy to understand exactly what it is that they do, what's their sweet spot, do they have any certifications, any contract vehicles, or anything else that kind of gives them some extra muscle. So let's just talk about the basics real quick. The federal government obviously is the world's largest purchaser. The small business goal for direct contracts, meaning federal contracts that should go directly to small businesses, and there's various categories of small businesses, but that number is approximately 24%. And then the goal for subcontracts, meaning the large businesses need to parse out a certain percent of their contracts, their federal contracts, to small businesses. That number is 36%. So you probably want to take a two-pronged approach here. Maybe spend part of your time going for direct small business contracts, working with those OSDBUs, and then the other part of your time and effort and strategy should be geared towards working with the prime contractors. Again, both the federal government and the primes are making purchasing decisions. Why? They're choosing to do business with you because you're qualified and you've got the experience. You've built relationships and trust with them. The government is risk adverse. Prime contractors, maybe not as much, but they still want to make sure that they know exactly who they're subbing the work out to. A lot of times the prime contractors will dictate the price to you. They bid for the contract and they put in all the prices that they know they can live with, that has their markup, and they will sometimes contact you, again, if you have built a relationship over time, and tell you, here's the price that your LCATs need to be at in order to work with us. So sometimes it's a take it or leave it situation, and there's various trains of thought on should you pursue those or not. But most of the time it will give you good experience, past performance, and sometimes you'll get your people plugged in actually at the agency, and I'll use the term butts in seats, so you'll get people actually within the agency that are then able to continue to build relationships both with the prime contractor but then also with the federal government. Other reasons the government and primes contract with you, because you make it easy for them to do business with you, and then the incentives such as they can check a box that you're 8A, women-owned, HUBZone, veteran-owned, or any of the other small business designations. This is kind of what I said, having these contract vehicles and meeting the SBA goals. The contract vehicles, this is going to be if you've got a GSA schedule or C4D or NASA SOUP or any of the other contract vehicles or ways that the government purchases. So the easier it is to find you and the easier it is to understand what you do and the easier it is to contract with you, the more likely you are to win business, both direct and indirect. So sometimes you want to reverse engineer, and one way to do that is looking at the SBA scorecard. This is an annual report, public knowledge. It's a website that on the SBA website, it has all the information. The agencies are rated on how they award contracts to the small businesses. They get an overall grade, and then they get a score based on each of the categories that they do business with, women-owned, veteran-owned, HUBZone, and all the rest. And then they also get a grade based on how the prime contractors within their agency did as far as subbing out work to the small businesses. Use this knowledge, and then if you are a 8A woman-owned, veteran-owned business or HUBZone or some combination thereof, reverse engineer to find out maybe 2 agencies that did really well in contracting with your designation, and then pick one agency that maybe needs to get their grade up. You can use that to give them an incentive to do business with you, and then obviously impact the score that they get from SBA. With that being said, you certainly don't want to lead with this as you start talking to the primes of the federal government. You always want to lead with your capabilities and your muscle. What is it you do? Don't rely on this set aside, kind of box checking to be the piece that's really going to win you the business. It's not. Again, lead with your capabilities. And you don't want to be all things to all people. Pick 2 or 3 NAICS codes, your services or your products that you're selling. Do those, do it well, and be known for those things. As you start to grow, you can add more people and expand a little bit with complementary NAICS codes, but you don't want to be in IT and then also in landscaping and then also in catering services and then also in marketing services. Make sure that you are focused in your business, in your plan, and in your strategy, and then it's much easier to use this public data that's available to you to be more competitive. So again, leading with your strengths and what it is that you do, the what and the why, the reasons that the government will purchase from you, again, are your capabilities, your experience, and if they do have a contract vehicle, that's how they're going to get to you. It's just a bonus if you have, if you're 8A certified, veteran-owned, HUBZone, or any of the others. That's not going to be the main or primary focus of why the government purchases from you. That's just how they may potentially get to you, or a box that they can check. So I mentioned the agencies are based on the set-aside breakdown, and the goal, these are the goal percentages. So the goal for women is 5%. It used to be 3%, but an organization called WIP, Women Impacting Public Policy, maybe 3 or 4 years ago, could be more than that, lobbied Congress and got that number to bump up from 3% to 5%. Disadvantaged businesses, that's 5%. 8A is going to fall under disadvantage. HUBZone is 3%. SDVO, you can see there is 3% as well. Got 5 slides here on tools and more tools to help yourself. Again, this data is publicly available, so you should use it and make decisions based on that intelligence. Make sure your SAM.gov registration is current and compliant, that you've got the right check boxes there for small businesses, that your NAICS codes aren't all over the place, that you are focused. There are some discrepancies. Sometimes people think that SAM does feed into the SBA Dynamic Database. It's not always the case, so you want to double check that database to make sure that you are listed there. The government will use the dynamic database, as will prime contractors from time to time. Again, the SBA scorecard, you want to look for any trends and adjust your strategy to meet the agency needs, whether they need to get their score up or they've got the propensity to contract with you because you've got a certain set aside. Your capability statement, you should be looking at that on a monthly or quarterly basis and have a couple separate capability statements tailored for the either the agencies or the prime contractors that you are wanting to do business with. And you should probably have a separate one for each prime contractor based on where your past performance overlaps and matches with theirs. Second part, and these are really in no particular order, but there's a FPDS, the Federal Procurement Data System website. You can download the list of the top 100 contractors by agency. There's one, basically a big Excel spreadsheet. We have access to it on our website under our resources section, but it'll give you the list of every contractor, top 100 by dollar for the entire government, and then the agency breakdown. So once you know which 2 or 3 agencies you want to focus on, you probably want to look at the top contractors, do some due diligence and on FPDS. You also want to reach out to the OSDBUs, talked about them in the beginning of the presentation, the Office of Small and Disadvantaged Business Utilization. Attend the industry days, those are listed on FedBizOps. And then on every prime contractor's website, you want to register as a small business. If you call them first, the first thing they will tell you is to go to their website and register as a small business. So even though it is a formality, you want to make sure that you do that. And if there is an option for you to upload a capability statement, again, make sure that it is customized and tailored for that specific prime contractor based on the contracts that they have won, that you can gather that information from FPDS, and then where does that overlap with your capabilities. Number 3, you want to look at GSA schedule holders. Even if you are not, that's fine. You go to the GSA website and you can look at all of the schedule holders by schedule that they hold, which will tell you which industry they are in. Next to their name, you're going to have contact information, name, phone number, email address, as well as socioeconomic indicator. If you see an O next to a company's name, O means other means large means they need to parse out, again, 36% of their business to small businesses. Again, you do not need to be a GSA schedule holder to work with these GSA schedule holders. There's a ton of associations for small businesses, HUBZone associations, 8A association, the lists go on and on and on. So some Google searches or going to our website under the resources section, we've got links to all of those. Then there's associations specifically for government contractors. At all of these associations, events, and conferences, you're going to find other businesses that you can partner with, team with, and secure government contracts. You can build relationships. Relationships take time, so you need to attend these events, go to these conferences, day in, day out, week after week, month after month, year after year. And eventually things will start to pop. LinkedIn, you've got more and more federal contractors on LinkedIn who are, federal contractors as well as federal government employees, and the prime contractors are there as well. So you want to be cognizant of the LinkedIn groups. The SBLOs are the small business liaison officers. That's typically what somebody would be called within, say, a Northrop Grumman, a Lockheed, a Raytheon, a GDIT, an SAIC. those people are responsible for finding these small businesses to subcontract with. It's not so much that they need to find you, because you guys are a dime a dozen being the small businesses, so you need to do things to set yourself apart from the other businesses. Again, that is building relationships and trust. That takes time, having a competitive price, contract vehicle, and any certifications. The government-related organizations, SCORE, your local PTACs, small business development centers, your chambers of commerce are always going to have a government division. So if your business is headquartered in Loudoun County, Prince William County, look at their chambers. They put on a lot of great events, which are always good for networking and finding decision makers. Whatever industry you're in, you probably want to find those associations and organizations. And within those, sometimes they do have a government or government contracting division. Number 5, this knowledge is power, so make sure that you are familiar with the FAR, the Federal Acquisition Regulation, which again is the rules. Some things that are new and some changes that have happened, including, and for example, the All Small Mentor Protege program. We did a webinar or two on that. This is a big incentive for large businesses to have small business mentors, to have small business proteges. That combined entity would then be viewed as a small business. The Mentor Protege program used to be reserved only for 8A certified companies, but now all small businesses can participate. Stay current, read newsletters, attend the conferences, the trade shows. Again, we've got lists to all of these on our website, blogs that you should be subscribed to, newsletters, and so forth. So some concluding remarks here. Selling to the government in general is not easy, and it's competitive. Obviously takes time. You think about relationships and past performance. All of that is going to take time to build. So it's not going to happen overnight. You just need to be diligent, work hard, and be consistent. Some of the pros, this sector is so unique because there is so much public data that anybody can go to. So leverage the websites, leverage the information, let that drive your strategy. If you're local to DC or Maryland or Virginia, most of the big primes are going to be here, as is the federal government. So take advantage of that. And there are a ton of small business resources out there. Again, a lot of those were mentioned in those 5 slides that I went through. So because I did mention a lot of websites, the SBA scorecard, some of these other associations that you should join or consider, we've listed them here. Some data and research, the top 100 contractors, a lot of them, again, can be found on our website under the resources section. If you do have questions, feel free to call or contact us. And the recording will be mailed out, the link will, as well as the slides. If anybody has questions, please contact us. Coming up at 12:30, we are covering wrap rates. Thanks again for joining us, and happy Thanksgiving, everybody.